Starbound grew its fan base primarily through their early access work. It garnered the attention of many due to its simplistic style, the rich lore, and the attraction of, you guessed it, space travel. However, a lot has changed since early access. Did the pressures of making it to 1.0 cost them a less than stellar stable release? You're watching The Garden of Zen to find out. Now, on the surface, many typically just call Starbound a space Terraria. And while that's good for a general description, the game deserves to shine for its own merits and uniqueness. The greatest feature, in my opinion, is also one of the most controversial points for many of the fan base who experienced the early access version in comparison to stable 1.0, the story. The lore within Starbound is massive. Well, it used to be. It used to have an even bigger and more dynamic impact. During the early access version, the lore was so extensive that it painted every race into a gray light, each with their positive and negative effect on the universe. Humans had one of the biggest change, losing entries of their first contact with the Florians and trying to use Weed Killer to kill them. After the massive changes, humans are seen far more quote-unquote good, and the concept of the horrors of war via fighting themselves over nearly depleting their solar system's resources, before having Earth attacked by a giant tentacle monster which scattered the few remaining humans into other places, making other races fear said creature which strike other home planets next. It was turned into a United Nations system similar to the positive image of Star Trek, before having Earth attacked by said creature, but now exists as a cult bent on fully awakening that creature for a purpose. Look, I know, that was a lot of then and now cramped into only a fraction of the story. And while I can also talk about how the Florians lore removed Greenfinger, which was their race's leader and biggest icon, to turning that name into a title for every leader of a Florian village. Or how the interactions with watching the ritualistic cult side of the avian race experience a time choice to save the suicide attempted ritual. Yeah, the avians' two sides, the Stargazers and the Grounded, had disagreements due to the Stargazers jumping off giant towers, killing themselves in the name of their godlike idol, Klux. Now those towers still exist, but no dialogue about said ritual can be found. And that's annoying. Before I bore you with more quick lore changes, just know that the core pieces of each race's lore still remains, just not as detailed or as dedicated as before, along with having the Nova Kid race tossed in as an extra bit of content, which I'm not going to argue because that race itself was, as stated, an extra piece of content, but because they have no villages, no homeworlds, no system of communication, you don't even run into a Nova Kid in the actual game of 1.0 unless you do a very specific event that summons a Nova Kid. And that's, again, frustrating and annoying. In short, the story of the game holds up for Starbound, but to me, it was disappointing in comparison to the lore prior. Luckily, the game still holds true for its, you guessed it, gameplay. The general mechanics of gameplay still exist from early access, sans an updated version of the combat, which actually ended up getting a lot of the unique legendary weapons, like one of my favorites, the Water Sword, removed. You spend most of your time beaming down to a planet via your spaceship or a teleporter and searching the planet for resources to mine, villagers and towns of various races, and doing the odd job while scanning their culture to find clues pertaining to the core story which will lead you through the main quest. You will do this all while battling the elements of some planets such as toxic planets, freezing planets, scorched planet, irradiated planets, and even moons with no atmosphere, with a really creepy looking purple ghost trying to use his grabby hands to grab you. Now, To manage staying alive effectively, you'll want to craft the proper apparatus to help dismiss the harsh effects of said planets. Now, in my opinion, the game could have gone further with having the proper apparatuses not necessarily making you immune to events, but let alone making it less effective. Freezing planets should still have a meter that if you do not, find shelter in time, you freeze and take damage, even with the proper apparatus, but that's just my opinion. Once you're done on a planet, you will then beam up to your ship and either travel to another planet or asteroid belt, or take a visit to what is known as the Ark, and do business in the market outposts there, increasing your technology or purchasing things like colony deeds or terraforming items, which within itself adds so much more to the game. Terraforming is fun. Finding a planet and making a home for yourself, for a colony, for your crew, etc. It's amazing. I love it. It's not even the main aspect of the game because it's like this little sub-core element thing. It's amazing. Gameplay is just one of the best things of Starbound. There's something for everyone, and the development team states that they're planning on adding even more, and that is where Starbound shines. The pure aspect of having something for every single player. Now, because you're going to be doing a lot of exploration, it's important to have the proper sounds. Now, I find myself doing a lot of deep digging on planets, and the music really helps in staying relaxed and in the flow of work. There's lighthearted tunes, pleasant soundscapes, and detailed sound effects that work well with the ambience noises for certain biomes you may encounter. It's not the best music ever, but it comes across as extremely pleasant and it fits well within the gameplay. On the downside, combat music could do some work. While it does not clash with the moment of combat, it does, however, remain dull overall. There are times where you will encounter a cool boss on certain missions and the music with those bosses are just blah, they're just underwhelming. You wanted some, Sephiroth orchestra for some of the greatest battles, and it's just, okay. Again, not bad, but okay. But going alongside with the music is the sound effects, and I think the crisp tones of hearing, say, your character step foot on wet soil is kind of really weird, especially if you have headphones that has virtual surround sound, and it just creates this nice subtle effect of every small detail for the sound effects is unique. Stepping on metal as opposed to wood, as opposed to the wicker, you hear the differences, and it all amounts to an amazing result when it comes to the sound effects. But how does the sound affects the visuals? Okay, so as for visuals, some may be put off due to the pixel style. Some may find it bad due to it simply being a 2D side-scroller. But every style has its beauty, and damn it, Starbound knows how to create some lovely visuals with some 2D pixel art. From the parallax backgrounds that blend colors and shift and change as you travel from planet to planet, from the nebula gases floating in the back of space, from seeing the planets and solar systems in the sky while you're on a planet, it's really nice. Even the buildings and weapons are well designed for pixel art. When you visit planets that are of destroyed civilizations, the rust of buildings and garbage-filled lands while you view destroyed skyscrapers in the background, it is breathtaking the first time around, when you're not dodging one-hit deaths via meteorites. One thing that I am kind of disappointed by is the lack of diversity. While I am being a bit nitpicky, I would have liked to see differences within the landscapes and backgrounds of the same types of planet. For example, the background of one scorched planet will be the same background for all scorched planets, at least from my time playing Starbound 1.0. And there's going to be times where you're going to see patterns of the land that you're actually walking on. Things like placements of chests and placement of heals, and they're nearly identical more than once. I found myself on a new planet thinking, I've definitely looted that chest before, but what was really going on was I just saw the same pattern in the heals as I did on 3 previous planets, and I had not yet touched that chest. To be clear, I am not too bothered by this. I expect to see the repeat of patterns. That's to be expected with games, especially those of such vast nature that encompasses a universe. I just wish the bucket of diversity was a little bit bigger. Overall, at the end of the day, this game is easily one of my favorites due to the targeting things that I love. Exploration, survival, crafting, space, and base building. The lore is still extensive and I love that. However, the changes, in my opinion, really makes an impact on lowering the quality of the writing. Game mechanics has a little bit for everyone, though combat could still do with including more enemies and enemy types. Audio sounds good, but can be a bit stale and boring in areas where it should shine dramatically. Visuals are great, vast in many areas, and will even cause some wow moments. However, keen eyes will see the patterns of the world generation, and at times, seeing the same vistas on planets to planet be the same for the planet type can be a bit disappointing. I highly recommend this game. Even if I feel as if it sits as a quote-unquote good game, I cannot give it a great status as I was just personally taken aback, more so about what was taken away from the game. It still remains one of my favorites that I'm addicted to. If this is your kind of game, this is an easy recommendation, and will be one in my personal stash of choice games. But what are your thoughts on Starbound Stable 1.0? Did it live up to your expectations? Is the game still grand in your eyes? Do you still have fun? How long did you even play it? Let your voices be heard in the comment section below and or on our forum, forum.essenceofzen.org. And while you're at it, feel free to subscribe to the video for more reviews, leave a like if you liked it, disliked it if you disliked it, and share with friends who are also looking for opinions on Starbound. I will see you all in the next video, but until then, as always, fly safe.